Hello, welcome to all my combo lords. Returning to the combo classroom with your teacher Demotro. Today, we have some interesting topics to cover because it's been a little while since I've been able to check in. I've been dealing with some rare personal things, and I would like to share all of my rare personal stories with you folks. Perhaps many of them will be told in the grade -2 finale. The grade -1 finale was a bit of a documentary of what led me through that grade, so perhaps we will tell many of the rare stories in grade -2's finale, and perhaps some of them will have to come in future memoirs. In any case, I have been ready to return to our rare quick schedule of non-stop facts, non-stop combo life episodes, and so on. So I did post a new short the past few days out of many I've filmed, and I'm hoping to be posting a short every 1 to 2 days all throughout this month. So we're going to get back on the short plan. We will also try and put some bonus videos on this channel of I have way too many brainstorms to make whole episodes about. So I'm going to comb through my brainstorms and do a little deciding of which ones make sense to be whole combo class episodes and which ones I might not ever make a combo class episode about, so I might as well just make a bonus video about. In any case, here we are at nighttime in the combo classroom with a few candles lighting our path. We better be pretty careful with these candles because one of the last times I had candles in the combo classroom, I burnt this hole in the lab coat. This hole was from candles, yes. It's always the small fires that you don't give enough credit to. It's never, for me at least, the damage is never the big fires that you see in my episodes, because those I'm actually paying attention to. I have somebody ready with a hose and so on the side. But the tiny fires are always the ones that get me. The ones that I don't pay enough attention to. So just watch. I'm going to lean my hair over a little too close, and we're going to get another chaos moment in today's stream. Let's hope not. In any case, today, I did begin today's title with debunking fake proofs because I do want to go into, if I can find it in a moment, this mathematician who I kind of wanted. I saw all these posts he was making online claiming that he had solved the Collatz conjecture, and in conjunction with that had also solved Goldbach's conjecture. Now, I don't know if any of you know these, but these are two of the biggest problems in number theory, and these are things that people have worked on for many years, and they are not the type of thing that is going to be solved within a 3-page paper that is really vague. So, like mathematicians have been working on these things for a really long time. If you look at some of the problems that took hundreds of years to solve, like Fermat's last theorem, that thing took about 100 pages to finally prove after those 100 years. Not a few pages of vagueness. So I already kind of wanted to poke holes in this mathematician's supposed proofs of the Collatz conjecture and Goldbach conjecture, but I felt mildly guilty because, I don't want to poke downward. I don't want to be mocking people who are just trying their best. I don't know, maybe this guy is just trying his best and is confused. Maybe he has a mental condition. Maybe he's a really good mathematician, but there's just like something off about the logic, about what he understands. I don't know. So I don't want to punch downward. However, this particular gentleman commented on my video about the Collatz conjecture, claiming that he had proven it and that it was already proven along with the Goldbach conjecture. And at this point, once somebody is spreading misinformation in the comment sections of my videos, I feel the full right to poke holes in the logic of all of their false proofs. So I may look that up in a moment, find the comment that this gentleman left on my Collatz conjecture video, which, to be clear, I was not saying in my Collatz conjecture video that I proved it. Obviously not. anyone who proves the Collatz conjecture will be going down in history as hugely famous, if it's even possible for a human to prove such a thing. We don't even know if that category of problem is the type of thing that mathematics has the tools to prove. In my video, it was just saying how the Collatz conjecture can be simplified if we look at it in binary, or base 2. Nothing about me trying to prove the Collatz conjecture, just saying how more mathematicians who talk about the Collatz conjecture should describe it in terms of binary, then it would be simpler to look at. Simpler does not mean solved. So, as soon as this gentleman decided that he was going to start posting his misinformation on my videos, I decided it was about time to make sure that everyone knows that the Collatz conjecture and Goldbach conjecture are not solved by this man, and that certain proofs like this have funny errors we can study as humans. Certain flaws in the links between philosophical intuition and mathematical logic. When you half know your math and you also have a gut feeling for something, and you kind of try and merge those in a chaotic way, that's fun, that's cool, but it is very unlikely to add up to a proof of the Collatz conjecture. So, right when I was booting up this stream, I was unable to find his comment when I was like quickly scrolling. I'm gonna need to grab my charger for the computer anyway, so I think we're gonna start with a different intro topic before we get to our two mathematical topics. The mathematical topics will be looking up, making sure everyone knows that all these proofs of the Collatz conjecture and Goldbach conjecture are not accurate, and seeing if we can find any interesting philosophical human traits as to why a human would think they had solved such a thing. The other mathematical thing that I would like to cover today is I've been talking about these things called numberations that I've been fiddling around with. Numberations are my nickname for when you have an operation then a number, that essentially a numberation really is a function that turns one number into another. But the typical numberation can be described as an operation then a number, like times 2 to the power of 2 divided by 3, or something like that. I've also been designing a game around these numberations. Now, I've been dabbling in game theory over the course of grade -2, and one of the games I've been developing is a bit more inspired by trading card games such as Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! That is a vastly complex game. I'm very proud of what I have built of it so far, but I do not see it being something I would be able to release in the near future. So that's something I'm just slowly working on. In the meantime, I realized my numberations actually make a very fun card game. And so I am going to make a simpler card game that I will release as cheap as possible. I'm not trying to make money off you folks. I might handwrite the cards. I might buy index cards, handwrite the cards, and mail them to you guys for $10. I don't know. I'm not trying to make money off this. I want people to play my game. Now, with this game, many of the things that you do relate to numberations, but there's we've already talked a lot about like what you can get, which numbers you can reach from another number if you're doing things like times 2 plus 3 to the power of 2 and stuff like that. And today I want to look a little bit more about what's called digit reversals. I don't know if we would actually call it that. That was my nickname in the title. A digit reversal meaning within a given base, and yes, we're stuck in base 10. I wish that my game could be in base 6, and we could do digit reversals in base 6, but we're in a base 10 society, so we're doing digit reversals in base 10. And a digit reversal essentially is going to be a numberation that takes a number that has 2 digits neither of which are 0, and it switches the tens place and ones place. Now, that might seem simple, but there is so much to explore with this, because I have calculated in my numerations game, out of all the numbers from 1 to 99, what would be the ideal number to be what we call a target number of what we call the pile I'm nicknaming the mountain. It's hard to explain. I'll explain the game in a minute. There's hills and mountains, but the mountain, I had to figure out what number it resets at. And it could have been anything from 1 to 99 in the way I'd currently designed the game. And I did so many calculations that resulted in me deciding that the ideal number, depending on which numerations you use, is either 19 if you don't allow as many numerations as cards in the deck, or if you allow all the numerations that I will allow in the starter deck, 31. It turns out 31 is the ideal number. And the reason is because with the mix of numerations I've created, you cannot reach it. I'll explain the concept of the game in a moment, but you cannot win a round or get anything in less than 4 numerations with the number 31. However, there are many different ways to get it in 4 or 5 numerations. So that was what I was looking for, is I don't want you to be hoping you draw the right cards that make it work quickest. I want it to be that there's like a vast different set of combinations that are almost equally good if you evaluate what combination works in what way. Now, my computer is very low on battery. I really should grab the charger. We may need to move to my room at some point because it's past 10 p.m. here. I don't want to bother the neighbors hyper late, but it's a Friday night, so we're doing a Friday night stream, baby. We're staying here for at least an hour outside, and I do have to follow the combo class policy of blowing out the candles while I run over to grab the phone charger, because if any of you know my combo class policies, I allow fires in the combo class, but I don't allow unattended fires. Fires must be attended. And since I'm the only one here right now, this fire would be unattended if I went inside. So, no unattended fires. We got some rules in the combo classroom, believe it or not. Now, I'm facing a different direction than usual. And there's actually a reason why I'm facing a different direction than usual. I'm on the side of the desk. I'm on like the long way of the desk. You ever did in school, did they ever tell you hot dog style or sandwich style, how you fold your paper? Maybe that was just my teacher or something. Some people know what I mean when I say that, some don't. It's if you have a piece of paper, you can fold it hot dogs, or no, that would be sandwich style, or I guess you could also call it burger style maybe, or you could fold it hot dog style. Now, I'm at the hot dog style end of the desk, kinda. I'm at the long one. I'm normally on the place where you'd actually sit at a desk. I'm at like the long corner. There is a reason. It's because that part of the classroom has utterly changed, and a lot of chaos occurred in the filming of the episode that will be coming out in a few days on my combo class channel. And due to all that chaos, I don't want to give too many spoilers. So we might not even show that side of the classroom. You might have to wait a few days to see what happens in the episode. Or maybe we'll give you a very brief sneak preview later in the stream. In any case, I need to run and grab the charger. I do not want this to die midstream. And I will return either with our digit reversal plans, or perhaps with some debunking of some proofs. In the meantime, sometimes I like to throw on one of my beats because I make the soundtracks of the combo class episodes, so sometimes it's fun to put on a beat that people may have heard in the background of a video of mine that they haven't heard just as a song. So let's add the screen capture. I really need a tech wizard working with me here. See, I'm not joking. It says low battery. Now, let's make sure this has volume. I am so bad at technology, you folks don't even know. I am good at the technology that is useful for me to know, and that is music recording equipment, filming equipment, and certain types of editing equipment. Apart from that, I hate technology. I like old paper notebooks and stuff. Sorry to all you video gamers. I don't watch any video gaming YouTubers except Video Game Donkey because he's hilarious. But I don't know. I'm an old-fashioned guy in some ways, and I do not mean in beliefs. I'm not old-fashioned in beliefs. To all you racists or transphobes out there, I'm old-fashioned in the types of hobbies I have, not in terms of having outdated beliefs. Now, let me run and grab the charger. In the meantime, let's see what beat you guys want to hear. So, which of these have I not played before on a stream? I don't know if I've played this on a stream before, but we will try this one called Burnt Sunglasses. And if I'm not back in time, it's going to go to the one called Conic Revenge. And these are beats that I made that are in my soundtracks of episodes, but few of you have heard as whole. Some of these I gave to my Patreon supporters. I did put out MP3s for them at one point of these, but most of you have not heard these. So let's hear a few beats. Let's look at the background in case a squirrel runs by or something. We'll get all this junk out of the way. And then I'll be back soon. Alright folks, I'm back, but I gotta plug us in. 1 second. Alright, folks. Finally got our charger ready. And now I can make sure our stream doesn't die. As I was running around grabbing this stuff, I have not yet pinpointed the mathematician's comment. I almost am worried that in one of my last streams, I said, this mathematician left a crazy comment on one of my videos. I'm about to roast this guy because he's claiming false things about the Collatz conjecture on my videos. So I'm about to just go roast this guy in a later stream. So I'm worried that he might have deleted the comment or something. I have a photo of it, so I know I've documented the comment. But if anyone wants to, while they're watching the stream, if you're bored, go to my Collatz conjecture video and let me know if you can pinpoint the comment from the guy who claims that he solved both the Collatz conjecture and Goldbach conjecture, and that I'm wrong that they're unsolved because he's some secret genius who's solved them both. So, let me know if you pinpoint that. In the meantime, what I want to work on is this idea of digit reversals that I swear is really fun and interesting. And we're going to relight our candles too, because you know how I said I hate technology? Where'd the lighter go? You know how I said I hate technology? Well, I don't even like the digital lighting. Let's go practically pitch black apart from actual candles. Apart from the fact that I don't know where I put the lighter. There it went. So, we're going to relight our candles because remember, the only reason I blew them out is because of our policy that despite me seeming like despite me being a chaos lord, I'm not going to burn anything down, and that's why we have a policy of all fires must be attended to while in the combo classroom. You must have someone watching the fire at any given point. Now, while we boot up this idea of digit reversals and how that ties into my numberations game, I did also put in the title that we're going to be eating some weird things. And it's true. I have some weird things that I would like to eat while I pull this up. So since I already have this like half up, let me get my document ready first. Here, I guess if I shrink myself. Okay, who wants to move to the Bay Area and be my tech wizard? I would say email me, but I've been really, really bad at even checking the combo class email. So to anybody who has emailed me with cool stuff, I apologize if I haven't gotten back to you. It's me being anxious and procrastinating. It's not you. Now, here we're going to pull up a document so that we can be writing some interesting notes of calculations of all the ways in my numberations game that I will explain in a moment that we could achieve it's not like a win of the game, but it's a win of a certain amount of points, that we could win a certain amount of points within 4 to 5 numberations. And I'm pretty sure we can't do it in less than 4. That's my goal. If I find one that we can do it in 3, I'm going to be disappointed, because then I'm going to be like, there's one that you're hoping that you draw. I want it to be a bit more balanced, where there are many different combinations that within 4 to 5 numberations could win this game. There are also ways to prevent your opponent from using their numberations from winning the game. So let me explain that, but let me also show you what weird foods we're going to be eating in the meantime. So, there are 3 types of foods I have. One, I don't know if I'm going to eat tonight, but I will eat at some point on video. These are potatoes that I accidentally grew. The green parts of these potatoes are apparently poisonous. You do not want to eat the greens of potatoes, apparently. However, these tuber-like parts look like small potatoes that I'm going to cook and try and eat and hope that I don't get sick from. That may not be tonight that we do this particular of the 3 foods I have, but the interesting fact is that, so that direction that I'm not panning the camera towards involves a lot of chaos that occurred in the last episode regarding a planter bin that I had, that I filled with compost, and then much rain occurred, much clock falling occurred, and this thing has become, we'll do the tiniest sneak preview. This thing has become quite, oh god, you can't even really see it back there. A lot of chaos happened at the planter bin. So we extracted the potatoes. But why were there potatoes? Well, you see, I had extra potatoes inside that had been starting to grow those spots on the outside where they like grow extra things. I was thinking of planting them. I put them in the planter bin. It rained on them. They like sprouted downward into the soil. And before I had even decided whether I was going to plant them or not, I had just set them in the soil. It had rained on them, and they grew these, along with many others. These are just like the little oh no, I dropped one. These are just the little batch of potatoes that I currently brought to the stream. A lot of them grew in that planter bin. It was really crazy. I didn't try and plant them. I mean, I was thinking of trying to plant them, but I didn't even need to. It just rained on them, and they were just sitting in compost, did their thing. Sometimes compost does magic. It has these things that travel, little seeds that were in your compost that then just emerge as a new flower. Sometimes we have a worm bin here, where a worm bin is essentially, it's not just worms, you got your isopods and other types of insect and stuff feeding, but you put certain types of compost in it, and you allow insects in it, and worms and isopods eat the compost. And I will be explicit here, because in combo class you must be honest about the facts. They poop it out, and your compost is the shit of the bugs. However, that does not mean it's bad. That's the best compost. It is like the best dirt on earth. I know it sounds weird that it was pooped out by a worm or an isopod, but I swear it is the best it's like better than dirt. It's just like dirt plus. So you plant that stuff. Now, sometimes a seed travels. And so I've tried to plant things, and other plants emerged in the pot. There's one plant, or one planter, like a big pot, that my family originally just tried to plant one thing in. But you know what now lives in there? Mint, nasturtium flowers, strawberries, this like ivy-like thing, and 1 or 2 others. And all of those came from the compost travelers. Now, apparently potatoes are really good at growing. I want to make an episode someday where I grow potato fruits, because we're not going to eat them. If you ever encounter a potato fruit, do not eat it. Potato fruits apparently exist. So you think like, is this the fruit? No, this is a tuber. This is the root-like part of the vegetable. And does it have a fruit? Well, actually, yeah. Potato plants actually do, under the right conditions, grow fruits. They're poisonous to humans, so don't eat them. We're not going to eat them if we make an episode about this. But I find it kind of cool that potatoes make fruits that look like tomatoes, but are secretly poisonous. So we will demolish all the evidence if we ever create poisonous potato fruits. Before the cops show up at the convo classroom, we'll make sure all the poisonous potato fruits are gone. However, In the meantime, I might cook one of these next stream. Next stream, I might just cook one of these potatoes and eat it. I might just make a baked potato. The green part's poisonous, but who says that this isn't a valid potato? That looks like a potato I might buy at a store. What's wrong with that potato? I'm gonna cook it and eat it. So, here we have our numberations document, but I did want to actually also say the foods we're actually going to be eating. So, we'll start with the less impressive one, which is more of a mystery. So, I've gotten really into papaya recently. It's something that a lot of people don't like. It took me a long time, and then one day it like clicked for me. I was in Mexico, and a lot of the breakfasts that you eat there consist of like a bread-like product as well as a bunch of fruit. And sometimes that fruit contains papaya. And somehow it clicked for me there, and I fell in love with it. But two things. One is that the papaya seeds are apparently healthy. You have seeds inside it that apparently you can eat and are apparently healthy. But when I tried to eat them on a previous stream, it was so gross. So normally when I eat something rare on this stream, I'm like so excited. I'm like, this is so cool. I love life. This is nature and fruit. But that papaya seed, that was not good. I had to admit it. So one thing is that I do want to try a papaya seed again in today's stream. But the other thing is that normally I will buy a papaya that I can tell is a good one, and it costs, more than $1, let's say. What if you got a papaya that costs less than $1? For all of my non-American people, an American dollar is like a fifth of the cost of a slice of a loaf of bread here. It's like here, like I live in the Bay Area. I might have to move just due to the expenses, just even though I love it here. But it's like, you get a $5 loaf of bread, or if you're trying to eat out, that's going to cost you 10 or 15 bucks minimum. If you're trying to cook yourself a sandwich, that's even going to cost you a few bucks. However, sometimes you got stores with like a back room with fruits that they had too many of that they put at a discount price. And so I got a 99-cent papaya. This entire papaya costs less than $1. So I'm kind of scared of it. I'm kind of excited about it because I've grown to love papayas, but I'm scared for two reasons. One is that it is very rare that you get this size of papaya for 99 cents, so I'm hoping nothing's wrong with it. Number two is that I kind of just promised that I'm going to try eating the seeds again. And that was really gross last time, but we'll do it. Now, there is another fruit that while we are digesting our papaya, we can have a rare one as well. And trust me, to all my math folks, I'm jumping in the numberations in a second. We're going to do our digit reversals. I just need to present the final fruit, which is, you may have heard of a mango. I mean, you've probably heard of a mango. It's pretty unlikely you haven't heard of a mango. But have you heard of a mangosteen? A mangosteen is a different fruit than a mango. This is a mangosteen. It is very different than a mango. I'm not sure why the names are so similar. I'll have to look up the linguistics of that. But it's very strange. When you open it, what you eat, I think, might even be the seeds of it in a soft state or something. Or that you get these weird flesh-like pods that are like a mix of like a lychee and like a longan, like a loquat. And I don't even know how to explain this. But I have one. So we're going to eat a mangosteen later in the stream. The mango stream. And it is very different than a mango. So to anyone who thinks that just because it's called mango and then has a little suffix at the end that this is going to be like a mango, These things are weird. These things are different. I like them, but they are different. If you have not tried a mangosteen, you'll probably be surprised by what's in this. Now, let me take a really quick peek at our comments before we jump into our calculations of digit reversals. Thank you to everybody who's commented so far. Somebody asked where are the clocks. Many of them have collapsed and fallen because I said I am not allowed to pan over there. Well, I'm allowed to. I can do whatever the heck I want. But I don't want to pan over there necessarily because it would spoil some things that happen in the next episode. The next episode on the main combo class channel is clock related. It is about modular arithmetic. So you know how sometimes I discuss this thing called oh my god. This thing called modular arithmetic, where it's clock-like and where you loop around different cycles, and it is very reminiscent of patterns that the last digit in a base would have, as well as just patterns of remainders upon division of certain numbers. Well, modular addition and subtraction are clear enough or easy enough to explain that I just laid those out when we did the first episode about this, which was about modular multiplication. So to anybody who wants a head start, look up Modular Multiplication Magic by Combo Class. Then, a bit later, in between, there's kind of a modular one. We did one about something called Wilson's Theorem. That's a cool factorial-based modular thing related to primes. That is modular. But the next main one that was like a modular operation was modular division. We did that earlier this grade. So we've done modular multiplication. That also just presented addition and subtraction. We've done modular division. Well, the next episode coming on the Combo Class channel will be about modular exponentiation, modular exponents. And there are so many cool patterns that I did have to split it into multiple episodes. Basically, a lot of what we're going to be looking at is first like a series of beautiful patterns that happen in base 10 under modular exponentiation. Then we're going to convert to other bases and look at what's known as Fermat's little theorem, different than Fermat's last theorem. And I really wanted to go into this one thing called Euler's theorem out of the many things named Euler's theorem, because that guy is such a boss. But I already want to make an episode about this thing called Euler's totient function, and it relates to this particular Euler's theorem, that I kind of split this episode. Even with the episode split, where we're just looking at the modular exponentiation traits leading up to Fermat's little theorem, and not even doing the Euler's theorem version yet, it could be a half-hour episode, because there's a lot of cool things to say about modular exponentiation. We will also be covering in that episode a big topic is something known as pseudo-primes, numbers that normally a primality test tells you if a number is prime, but a pseudo-prime seems to pass that test what isn't prime. And we're going to even look at one of the craziest types of pseudo-primes, which are called Carmichael numbers. So for all of that, it is clock related. There was a lot of clock destruction as well. So we cannot fully pan this direction, or I will spoil too much about the chaos that has occurred. But just know that we got enough clocks around here for now. The chaos builds throughout the grade, and we are getting near the end of grade -2. So you can bet that, grade -3, I'll have a fresh haircut, I'll have a new lab coat that doesn't have a burn hole in it, I'll have some new clocks and stuff. But we still got like 8 or 9 episodes in grade -2, so we're not done with the cycle of growth and destruction. Not everyone likes the destruction, but all the things that break here I got either free or incredibly cheap. And I think that destroying something on film immortalizes it in a way. Better than leaving it on a shelf forever. So I believe that I have a seasonal cycle of combo class where I will look much fresher at the beginning of the grade, chaos will ensue throughout the grade, and things will be collapsed by the end of the grade. And in fact, at this point, things are so collapsed that I don't even want to pan that way, or I will spoil the next episode. In any case, while we cut open our weird fruits, which are our way too cheap papaya, like our suspiciously cheap papaya, and our mangosteen, and consider cooking one of the potatoes that grew randomly back there, I want to look at this digit reversal concept. Now, I got distracted by the comments, but I do want to note that somebody said, can I say something about perfect numbers? And I have made an episode about those. They're gonna come back because perfect numbers relate to triangular numbers. And triangular numbers are so cool, so amazing and awesome. They are a subset of what are known as polytope numbers that includes square numbers, cube numbers, triangular pyramid numbers, and so many things. And in a way, the simplest of all of the polyhedral numbers, apart from a linear number, which is so boring. I mean, it's not boring, but it's just like a linear number is literally like an amount of dots in a line. After that, 2 steps later, you get to a square number. Square numbers are so popular. But what about 1 step? What about in between the linear number and the square number? What about the shape between 2 sides, like a line segment, and 4 sides, like a square? What about this shape with 3 sides, called a triangle? Well, it turns out triangular numbers relate to square numbers in incredibly beautiful ways. They also relate to what's called Pascal's triangle. They relate to the binomial coefficients. They relate to what I nickname meta-triangular numbers, which are shapes such as the one nicknamed the 4-cell and 5-cell, or nicknamed the pentachoron by other mathematicians. The triangular numbers relate to so many cool things that they're going to get a lot of episodes, and they do connect to the perfect numbers, that the perfect numbers will come back. However, perfect numbers have shown up in 2 previous episodes, so look up my episodes if you want to hear about perfect numbers, about the 13 numbers with weird types of names, and then watch the one that's shortly after that. That's about hyper 11s, which is a nickname I made for rep digits composed of the number 1, sometimes nicknamed monodigits. Now, I mean, they can be called rep units, but by hyper 11s, it's an extension of a concept known as rep units. Somebody asked if there's a green papaya or a ripe papaya. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because papayas come in many colors on the outside, and I have seen ripe papayas on the inside that are green on the outside. If you mean if the inside's going to be green, I really hope not, because I bought this thing. Well, I guess I can't be that disappointed. I bought this thing for 99 cents. So there's not really that much of a worst case scenario. But I hope it's not green on the inside. I hope it's ripe. Now, to answer any more comments before we jump into this, somebody says base 6 is the only base that makes sense, since it's the most useful single-digit perfect number. Now, I 99% agree with this comment. The only thing I would say is that I don't know if the perfect number status of 6 is why it's the best base. But I will say that for humans, base 6. Let's go base 6. I can't wait. You know, I made exactly 36 episodes on my main combo class channel in grade -1, and I plan on making exactly 36 in grade -2, because when the world converts to base 6 someday, those will be what looks like 100. Those will be 100 amount of episodes. I figured 100, that's a cool amount of episodes to have in a grade, and someday the world will convert to base 6 for humans. Computers may still use base 2, Or if you want to see something really weird, watch my episode about how some computers use what's called balanced ternary. But for humans, it's all about base 6, or I would accept base 12. But base 6 is better. So, I'll accept base 12, but base 12 is better than base 10. But base 6 is better than both. Now, somebody asked me, have I seen the video about base 2, the best way to count? I don't know if I've seen that video, but I've seen many videos about base 2. I've also read many articles about base 2. It's a common base. Now, somebody said the way I came in, they thought I was going to drop some bars when the beat came on. Well, if enough people request it, I will drop some bars. If you ever get me hyped enough during a live stream, I will throw on my beats and I'll freestyle about any single word you give me. I love rapping. Sounds weird to some people because they think, oh, why would this geeky mathematician love rapping? However, I have been trained in music in many ways throughout my life, and hip-hop is probably my favorite genre, and I've spent a lot of time having fun recording hip-hop tracks with my friends. And if you guys ever get me hyped enough, I will drop some bars. And trust me, Demotro songs will be coming. And warning that this channel will be where the Demotro songs come, because I have my channel Combo Class where I put out my most official episodes, the ones I'm most proud of, and then I have this channel where I put out whatever the heck I want. And it turns out that putting out whatever the heck I want, since that includes shorts I consider as random stuff, makes this channel have like 5 times as much subscribers as the other one. However, this is still my bonus channel because I don't measure, even though I love numbers, I don't measure which channel is the main channel by the amount of numbers. This is my bonus channel despite having like 5 times as many subscribers. And so this is where music videos will come out. But also, if you get me hyped enough, I will just freestyle for you guys at any point. But you can't get me that hyped unless you get me really hyped. No, actually, it would be pretty easy. But we're not probably doing that today because we got enough topics. What I'm going to do is slice the papaya, re-pull open our document, and look at some ways in which digit reversals could get us to numbers in interesting ways. So basically, in my numerations game, now I am going to be explaining a lot of the rules of a game that I might publish. Now, first of all, I want you all to know that I already have all the variation, not all, but I have many variations planned. And I have many other numerations to add. And if anyone tries to make this game before me because they watch this stream, first of all, your game will be worse because I already have the future ideas planned and you don't. Second of all, my combo lords are going to come and get ya. I'm half joking, but don't steal my ideas just because I put them out for free on a stream and I'm not like a hyper-capitalist. I'm not an Edison who goes and patents everyone else's ideas, so don't patent my idea. Now, I've invented a very interesting card game based on my things called numerations. This is not the card game that I had ranted about in some previous streams that was more based around games like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And such. That is a more complex game I'm still slowly building. This is a game that I wanted to make to be simple enough that I could make a play set to test with my friends or to mail to you guys as cheap as possible in the near future. Now, this numerations game involves cards that are each what I call a numberation. They turn a number into a new number. Now, they can only be played on something if they turn a number into what we consider a valid number. Now, there are going to be many variations for what a valid number can be considered, but for the main game, a valid number is considered a whole number between 1 and 99. We could consider 1 as being 0, 1, so we could consider basically a 2-digit number if you count the 1 digits as having a 0 in front of them. So basically, if your numberation, if you were trying to affect a number, I'll tell you what that means in a moment, that was 7, I could not do a divide by 2 on that, because that does not result in a whole number between 1 and 99. It results in a fractional thing. In a similar-ish way, if I had the number 60, I could not do a times 2 on it, because that would not result in it would result in a whole number, but it wouldn't be in the range 1 to 99. Now, the numberation cards that are going to be given are going to be +1, +2, +3, and the inverses of those. Those are the first 3 additive numbers you could imagine. Now, multiplicatively, you might wonder, am I going to say times 1, times 2, times 3? No, we're going to go for the first 3 primes. That turns out to be the ideal way to structure this game. So you have a times 2, a times 3, and a times 5. You also have divided by each of those. These are the inverses, essentially. But each of these are their own card. So these are 12 cards total, I have shown. Some of the rarer cards do include, like, to the power of 2, as well as the square root of a number, which is the inverse of the power of 2. So that would turn a 9 into an 81. That would turn an 81 to a 9. Now, one of the most crucial ones that I have found that makes this game extra weird and interesting and fun and helps make 31 such a good target number when I explain the full rules is the last one, digit reversal. And a digit reversal you can play on any 2-digit number that does not contain zeros as its digits. So you can't play it on 7 because that's 07, and you can't play it on 30 because that's 30. You can play it, many of these you cannot play on like every number. Like you can't play +3 on a 99 because we said you can only result in a whole number between 1 and 99. You can only play divided by 5 on multiples of 5, and you can only play times 5 on numbers up through 19, and so on. Now, digit reversal, most of these have opposites. They have inverses, like the pluses have minuses, the times have divides, this to the power of 2 has square root. Digit reversal is sort of its own reverse, so it doesn't have a friend that it's reverse. But I might even put twice as many digit reverse cards in the deck compared to these all having inverses, because for 1, it's its own inverse, and for 2, it causes such interesting traits we can do in the game. Now, like I've said, I wish we could be doing our digit reversals in another base, but I need this game to be understandable by humans. We're using base 10. Digit reversals happening in base 10 representations. Now, for example, let's say I wanted to turn the number 1 into the number 50. Well, I could take the number 1, and maybe I would play a card. And remember, this is not going to go in like PEMDAS, BEDMAS type order. This is going to go one operation at a time. We'll turn a number into a new number. Let's say I start at 1, and I want to get to 50. Well, maybe I could go times 2 times 5 times 5. That would get me to 50. I could also, though, go times 3 times 5 digit reverse minus 1. Because what this does is it sends me to 3, 15, 51, 50. So digit reverse gives you these strange options. And what I wanted to calculate here was going to be, well, okay, first let me explain the rules. The reason why there are inverses and such. You don't just have one number you're trying to reach another. you have two piles. The piles begin with no cards in them. However, they begin representing a number. Whenever a card is played on a pile, it edits that number. During your turn, if you can make a valid move, like if you're able to play any card that would edit the current either of the two piles into a valid whole number from 1 to 99, then you must play at least one numberation card per turn. You can play multiple if you'd like. They don't go in like a PEMDAS order or whatever. They go one at a time, turning the number into a new number. Now, you may play these on either stack. And I guess I'll note that for anyone trying to make their own version of this to test at home or whatever, you probably should start with 3 cards in your hand, and you should probably draw 2 cards per turn at the end of your turn. And here's a very important trait, is your hands are face up. The cards you draw in your hands are face up. It makes it more chess-like, where you are planning against your opponent, of thinking of sort of an offensive and defensive strategy against them, as opposed to involving more randomness. So you have face-up hands. Now, really though, the way, you don't have to get one number to another. The way that you achieve points in this game is by making the 2 piles represent the same number at some point during your turn. So let's say one pile starts at 1. We will nickname this one the hill. And let's say one pile starts at 31. We'll nickname this one the mountain. Now, theoretically, the hill could get bigger than the mountain, because someone could play a bunch of multiplicative numberations on that. They could subtract a bunch from that. The hill could have a bigger number than the mountain, but we're nicknaming that just based on their starting and reset points. Well, theoretically, I could, take 31 and maybe I'd do like -1. I would apply, and that sends that to 30. Maybe I would take 1 and I would do like ×2, and now I'm at 2, ×3, and now I'm at 6, ×5, and wow, I've made them equal. I turned 31 into 30, and I turned 1 into 30. At any point, the 2 piles represent the same number. Whoever's turn it is gets all the cards in both those piles. Each card is worth 1 point. So you're trying to get as many cards as possible. Now, theoretically, to prevent memorization from being crucial as to being like, okay, these are the cards left in the deck. I thought really hard about knowing that the remaining card in the deck must be a ×2 because I know how many cards are in the deck. To prevent that, it could be better that each time a player scoops both piles, you just tally how many points they have and reshuffle all the cards. Or reshuffle all the cards that were taken, at least, back into the deck. That would prevent memorization from being as important. I like games where during a current turn, you can determine an ideal strategy without having needed to memorize much about previous turns. So, the reason why I was using the example of 1 building up to a number is that all of these have inverses. Digit reversal is its own inverse, but all the others have inverses. And it turns out that with everyone having an inverse of this fashion, the pluses have minuses, the times have divides, the square has a square root, and digit reverse is its own reversal. There's also one more card that will probably be included called Clone, which is copies the last numberation. And Clone is basically, you can't play on an empty pile. Whichever you play it on, it copies whichever was under it. But Clone is not important for mathematical calculations because it just adds strategy to when you use your clone or not in the game, if you save it or when it makes sense to use. But it doesn't change how many steps it takes us to reach anything, because it would be copying one that we have here. Now, it turns out, due to the symmetry of everything having an inverse, that we don't need to consider the minuses, we don't need to consider the divideds, we don't need to consider the square root, and we can pretend that we're going from 1 to 31. And we will have the exact same amount of possible steps as any calculation that would get us from 31 and 1 reaching each other in different ways. Because any way that 31 is helpful to get toward 1 has the exact inverse. Like if we go from 1 to 32, then subtract 1, there's an exact inverse of being at 31, adding 1, and then we got to 32 that way. So we actually can calculate how many steps it takes to reach something just by pretending we have these, knowing that they all have an inverse, and pretending we're just going from 1 to 31. In the real game, there will be so many more options because you might take your 31 and use that with your divided bys and minuses and stuff to get down to your 1 or to meet midway somewhere. Or you might see your opponent being able to do that next turn, so you have to deter them by maybe you have to turn the 31 with a times 2 and do a 62 or something. And maybe then you have to digit reverse it to a 26. Who knows? Because you may have to deter your opponent from them being able to swoop all the cards. So these are the crucial numberations due to them all having inverses if we're doing calculations of how many steps it would take us to make 1 and 31 meet. As far as the calculations I was running through my head the other day, I'm pretty sure that we can't do it in 3, and that there are several ways to do it in 4, and a ton of ways to do it in 5. And this was one of the goals of mine, which made 31 one of my ideal reset or starting numbers for that mountain size to reset to each time, is that I don't want you to have like a target number that if you draw the right 3 cards, those get you there. But if you don't have those 3 perfect ones, it's gonna take you 4 or something. It's a lot more fun if there's a lot of different variations of similar amounts. That's part of why I said players should start with 3 cards in their hand. No player should just be lucky enough to swoop the 2 piles on their first turn. It should require more amount of cards than you start with in your hand as the minimum amount of steps to reach the 2 piles. Now, getting from 1 to 31, we're going to pretend we're just going upward, but remember that every one of these has an insane amount of more options. Because say I was going just from 1 to 6, which is like a tiny version of this. I could go times 2 times 3 from 1 to 6, or I could go times 2 divided by 3, or I could go divided by 3 divided by 2, or I could go plus 1 times 3, or I could go plus 1 divided by 3, or I could go plus 2 divided by 2, or I could go plus 2 times 2. So all of those are ways just to make 1 and 6 meet. However, we right now, since we're building upward, knowing the symmetry, would just calculate those as we can either start with 1, add 1, and then triple, add 2 and then double, or double and triple in some order. Since multiplication, the order does not matter. 2 times 3 is the same. I mean, times 2 and then times 3 is the same as times 3 then times 2. We'll just list them in ascending height if we need to. Like if we're listing, something that times 2 times 3 is the option, we'll just list them ascending, because you could do times 3 then times 2, same deal. Now, what are the ways to get from 1 to 31 in 4 steps? I'm going to cut open one of these fruits while I give you folks half a second to think about this. And if anyone wants to comment, I believe that there are at least not even there's more than 5 different ways to get there in 4 steps. There's like 5 to 10 different ways to do it in 4 steps. Using these numerations to get from 1 to 31. And please let me know if for some reason I messed up and you're able to get there in only 3 numerations, because I really don't want that possible. So basically, the simplest way to get to 31 we could imagine from 1 would be in some order. We multiply the 2, 3, and 5, and then we add 1. Because 2, 3, and 5 gets us to 30, and then we can add 1. Let's slice the papaya while we think of our other options. That's approaching from 30. So let's say where we are approaching from when we do our multiplicative stuff, if possible. It's not always going to work that way, but approaching from 30, we can do that. We got to 30 and we added 1. But we can also approach from 32, because I could say I'm at the beginning, I'm at 1. I do a plus 3. That gets me to the number 4. I square it. I'm now at the number 16. I multiply it by 2. I'm now at the number 32, and now I subtract 1. This also only took 4 steps. So let's put these at like a similar spot. We can see these are each 4 different numerations it took. And, caps lock. We can also do an approach from 25 in 4 steps by doing times 5, which we could, now already there are so many substitutions we could make. Right here, I could have started instead of plus 2 times 2 with a plus 1 and then done those. I could have also started with a plus 2 and then did those. Similarly here, this one might only have 1 option, but there might be other ways I could have made that work as well. This one, similarly, I'm saying times 5 twice, but the second one could have been a to the power of 2. So you know what? We're going to list all of them. We're going to list all the ways to do it in 4. Times 5 to the power of 2 is another way to start from 25. I had 3, I'm at 28. I had 3, I'm at 31. Now this one is going to have several variations that we could have done for our 4 numerations. I could have started with plus 1 instead, because remember, starting from the number 1 already. So this gets me to 2, just like that did. I also could have done plus 2 and then times 2, because that gave me the 3, and then that times 2s and times 5s. This one, we added 3 squared. Let's see, is there another way to make that one work? 4. I think that's the only way to do this in 4 to approach from 32. However, this isn't the end of what we can do in 4. Because, remember, digit reversal is a crucial one. We are just going to nickname this one R, because these all have like really clear short terms for what they are. So we're going to write a capital R to mean we have flipped the digits of the number. So here's part of why 31 worked so well, is that it turns out there are many ways to make 13 and then flip it to 31, but there aren't any ways to do that in just 3. But there are many ways we can do that in 4 steps. So more ways just with 4 numerations. I could merge my 1 into my 31 is I could go times, let's see, I need to get to 13 and 3. So I could go plus 3 gets me to 4 times 3 gets me to 12. Plus 1 gets me to 13. And then I reverse it. Or what about this? Times 3 times 5 has gotten me to 15. I subtract 2 and then I reverse it. This has also gotten me to 31 in 4 steps. I can also substitute for this one that at the beginning, instead of a times 3, I could have used a plus 2. That's approaching from 15. Theoretically, we could approach from 16. We can do this. We can do plus 3 to the power of 2 gets me to 4, then 16. I minus 3 this time. I'm at 13, and I reverse it. So there are many ways with 4 numerations to make 1 into 31. And each of these has an insane amount more combos of ways that I could have gone backwards from 31 to get there. For example, just looking at a random one, let's say looking at, what was one of the simplest ones, is times 2 times 3 times 5 plus 1. I could have instead taken my 31 and minus 1, and then times 2 times 3 times 5 the other. I could have also taken my 31 minus 1 divided by 5, and then times 2 times 3 the other. The point is to make the 2 piles equal the same number, but you collect the amount of points as the amount of cards in each pile. So you also want to do it in a fashion where you're just overall gaining more cards than your opponent. Sweeping the 2 piles isn't always going to be the right move. Because what if the piles are small and you could make them merge, but you see that your opponent would be able to then do an even bigger move on their next turn? Perhaps you'd have to deter them and play defensive. Now, let me know if you find any other 4s that we could do right here. Because I believe these are the 4s we can do. Let me think, are there any other 4s we could... Yeah, there are. We can do times 2 times 5 plus 3r. We could do plus 1 times 5 plus 3r. Both of those also get us there. What else could we do? That might be all of the ways, not counting that each of these have like a crazy amount more, like on a similar scale to 4 factorial amount of ways. I'm not sure if it's exactly that or not, but something similar to 4 factorial amount of ways for each of these to have merged R1 to R31, counting that we actually have inverses of each of these. Only building up, these are already all different ways we could use 4, but I don't think there's any way to do 3. And so somebody commented earlier. Let's see if they got one right. They said times 5 times 2 plus 3 reverse. Yep. So whoever commented, Mashojat, however that's pronounced, did get one of these right. Let's see what else is in the comments. Somebody asked what's cooking. Technically right now, candles are still somewhat cooking, they're getting a little bit low. A papaya is somewhat cooking, and I began to slice it, and we're going to see it is not very ripe. It is greenish on the inside. So, now, okay, yeah, this is a really underripe papaya. I've never seen the seeds like this, or it's a different type. Now, like I said, I bought this papaya for 99 cents. So there's not that much of a worst case scenario. I mean, the worst case scenario is I lose 99 cents. But I haven't really seen a papaya that is, first of all, this green. Second of all, that the seeds are that white. They usually look like black and different. I know that papaya seeds are edible. I said I would eat one. Let's try it. That's gross. That's bad. Oh my god. It's like peppery. Oh my god. Ah. That's bad. Ah. Yeah, no. Ah, that is gross. Okay. Maybe some of the green papaya will wipe the skin out of my mouth. Or maybe the papaya itself is unbelievably underripe. No, yeah, this is so underripe. Somebody tell me if you know any papaya ripening techniques. Otherwise, I just lost 99 cents. Okay, we're going to eat the more interesting fruit in a second called the mangosteen, because this one I do actually believe is the correct ripeness. Okay, the 99-cent papaya did not come through for us. That left the worst taste in my mouth, that seed. Oh my god. Okay, the mangosteen, however, if we break this one open, this one you'll find quite interesting. So look, I'm breaking open the mangosteen. And what are these? Those are what you eat. These are these strange, if you've ever had a lychee, or some people pronounce it lychee, it's a little bit like that texture, but it's different. I swear, like I've never had anything quite like this. It also has the flavor of a tropical fruit, like if you've ever tried a loquat. I don't know if you have, but the mangosteen. This is so weird and different and good. There are not other fruits I've had that taste like this. Okay. That mangosteen saved that papaya taste from my mouth. We are cured from having a terrible papaya seed taste in my mouth. Now, these... Oh, no, I'm blocking some of the way. Uh-oh. I was blocking some of these. These are all the ways I found to get there in 4. Let me know if you can think of any other ways to use these numerations to get there in 4. I might list some of the 5s in a moment, but there's going to be an absurd amount of 5s. And so with the 5s, the ways to get there in 5 numerations, what we're going to do is we're not going to include all the alternate versions where we were able to substitute one of the first ones either being a times or a plus. We're basically going to assume the first one's a times if that works for the 5s, because otherwise we're going to end up with an absurd amount. 31 I picked for a reason. I ran many calculations on this. And it also turns out that if you do not allow plus 3 and perhaps don't allow times 5, that would be questionable. That the other number that I was really considering was 19. But allowing plus 3 and stuff, we can reach 19 in just 3 moves. And it's not as good because here we have so many different combos that could take 4 moves to reach it. And remember that this is just building in an ascending fashion. These all have inverses, and each of these actually has many ways to do it if you count some of these as the inverses going the other direction from 31 to the number. Now, what are some ways to do this in 5? Well, I may need to take a 1-second break to grab some water. The candles are basically dead anyway, so I think this time when we blow out the candles, when we come back, we're just going to use like a lantern or the light of the computer or something. But we actually maybe should move to my room soon because actually like 11:30, and it's a Friday night, but I don't want to be that much of a nuisance to the neighbors. So maybe we'll move to my room soon, but I'm going to blow out the candles for a second, take a sip of water, take a 1-second breather, and I'm going to see if I can locate those proofs I wanted to debunk and whether that will be our next step, or if not, what we are going to do is calculate some really weird, fun ways, because there's some really weird ways to get there in 5 numerations. I just want to give you one example. What you could do to get there in 5 numerations, you could go times 3, and this first one could have been a plus 2 if I want. Let's make them different, so it's like as many different numerations as possible. Plus 2 gets me to 3. Times 3 gets me to 9. To the power of 2 gets me to 81. Reverse gets me to 18. And wait. Oh no, wait, this was to get to 19. What was my way to get to 31? Wait, no. Okay, sorry, I got distracted by thinking of 19 as a target goal. But there was a way to make 31 work really weird with a reverse with 5. That was really cool. In any case, you can figure out a lot of cool ways to make it work in 5, which we'll start to document in a moment. Give me a 1-second break, but we may move inside to my room because, I shouldn't be loud for that much longer. It's going to pass midnight before long. In any case, give me a 1-second pause, but as usual, I like to sometimes throw on one of my rare beats. Somebody said they thought I was going to come on rapping, and you're going to have to wait to hear me rap on these beats because, yes, these beats will actually have rapping on them sometime. But this time we will put on, why don't we put on one called Unexpected. I will be back shortly. Alright, folks. I am going to move us indoors. The candles are basically out at this point anyway. And indoors, I will have less risk of being a nuisance to my neighbors because it's getting close to midnight. So we're going to do a tiny transition where you're just going to see the numerations for a second. And you're going to have to just leave your comments or thoughts about what other cool ways I could get from 1 to 31 if I allowed myself 5 or 6 numerations. And we'll be in my room discussing this more momentarily. All right, we're going to get a 1-second cat break because when I come in, sometimes the cats like to follow to help me. So we're going to get a little sneak preview of my beautiful little cats. This is my Sage. Sage is sitting on his little red chair. And this is my Dandelion right there. Hi, Dandelion. Dandelion is an all-star of combo class because he likes making cat meows. Sage is a wizard. He's very smart. But Dandelion is noble and wise in his own brave way. There's also a third one, which is named Sassafras, who's a stray who came more recently. And these boys let him be part of the family because they're very nice. He especially, the stray Sassafras, follows Dandelion, this fluffy guy, everywhere and copies every move he does. And I need to show you guys clips sometime. This is going to be part of an episode sometime. Let me see if Dandelion wants to come in my room. Dandelion, you want to come in my room? Come here. Dandy Foo. Come on. Come on, Dandelion. You want to hang out there? Okay. Dandelion wanted to hang out there. We're not going to have him in the room right now. But that was our little sneak preview of a little cat meow because, I love my cats. They're very, very important to me. They have perhaps even saved my life before. And these cats are magical. So we'll get some more cat meows in the future. What I do want to show you folks in some future episode is these clips I've been taking where I've been getting really into this stuff called cat TV. And by getting into, I don't just mean that I watch cat TV with my cats. I mean, when the cats leave, I still like watching the cat TV. Like, I'm into it. You know how some people, sometimes you need like a meditative thing in the background to space out to. Some people do a cooking show or a podcast or whatever. I have found it very meditative to put this stuff called cat TV in the background. It's like mice running around and squirrels running around, and it's stuff that is made for cats to really like, but it's just like nature scenes that are like 8 hours of mice and squirrels running around and stuff. And I make this little stool for Dandelion. I need to show you guys the clips. I've filmed it. It's so cute. I make him a little throne, and I put on the cat TV, and he loves it. He goes on his little throne, and he watches the cat TV like a good boy. And sometimes he paws at the TV when a mouse comes close. However, he paws so gently at the TV. Normally, I wouldn't let a cat just like be scratching at my TV, but Dandelion is so gentle that I literally let him swat at the mice because I know he's not going to hurt the TV. He's just like trying to touch them. And Sassafras, who's the stray, who copies like everything Dandelion does, has now decided, oh, cats watch cat TV. I'll copy Dandelion there. And he now sits right next to Dandelion, and they'll watch it together. The two cats will just like be watching cat TV together. And yes, I am there on the couch watching cat TV also. And yes, even when the cats leave, I sometimes continue watching cat TV. It's one of the better genres I have found. Anyway, I really did want to, in this stream, include the bit where I was going to debunk the proofs of a particular mathematician due to him leaving comments on one of my videos. But I can't find the comment super quickly. I imagine it's because it's a pretty downvoted comment or whatever it is in the... Wait, what are the cats doing now? Are there cat problems out there? What's going on? All right, a little bit of cat drama going on there. But in any case, I wanted to debunk the proofs of this mathematical professor in quotes, who had left comments on my videos claiming to have proven the Collatz and Goldbach conjecture. But I think that'll be fun as its own stream in the future. And this one, we're just going to look a little more at our numberations because it's getting pretty late on my end. Once we hit midnight, we certainly might have to close off, and that is not too far from now. In any case, there will be a stream coming up soon where I will find either that the comments the guy was leaving on my videos, or maybe the fact that I can't find them signifies that the guy watched my last stream where I said that I was going to make a response to it. In any case, I have photos of his comments to show that he was at some point trying to convince my viewers that he had proven the Collatz conjecture and Goldbach conjecture. That will be a future live stream or video of some sort. To those waiting for more content, I have been putting out shorts. The first one maybe went to subscriber feeds, but I usually don't click the button that sends it to subscriber feeds for my shorts because I figure if you watch my shorts, if you click like on them and comment on some of them, you'll see them when you go on the shorts page. Like the people who like going on the shorts page will see them, because if you like my videos, you'll see more of them. Or even more so, just if you watch all of them. If you like watch the entire watch time of one of my videos and you go on the shorts page again, you'll probably see more. Not everyone goes on the shorts page. I don't even. I like making shorts, but I don't even like watching them. I like watching horizontal long YouTube videos. I like watching cat TV. But with the shorts, I have put out 2 recently, so if anyone is curious, they can go on this channel on the shorts tab, watch my 2 new shorts, and they are 2 of many that I have filmed recently that I am hoping to continue dropping throughout this month. I'll try and be dropping a short every 1 to 2 days throughout this month, and like I said, a lot of other fun bonus stuff filmed, and the next one will be clock-related math, probably approximately half an hour episode, coming out probably approximately Monday. I'll say it's coming out sometime between Sunday and Tuesday. Now, I think I may wrap up the stream in a moment because I need to clean up that $1 papaya that turned out to be a dud. It's getting pretty late around here in any case. What I'm going to show you folks next time is I'm going to make a similar list to this with all of the ways to reach it in 5 numerations. Because in this game, 4 to 5 won't be the most crucial difference. These will be the best things to hope to draw, as well as their inverses, because those would let you get there in 4 numerations. But with all the ways of playing offensive versus defensive and distracting your opponent and such, there are many ways that 5 numerations would certainly do the trick. So this is something I would like you folks to think of. How could you use a digit reversal in combination with these to reach the number 31 or other target numbers in an interesting way? How would this digit reversal come into play? The most obvious is to get to 13 and flip it to 31. But that's not even necessarily the only way we could apply a digit reversal that could help us here, if we allowed ourselves 5 numerations or so. So, I think I am going to wrap up the stream in a moment. Thank you to everyone so much for the comments, and I'm going to scroll through the comments first before I wrap anything up. Somebody asked, what method am I using to find good numbers that have lots of combos? Basically, I was testing a lot of numbers under certain batches of numerations, and I didn't want any... I wanted the minimum amount that you could reach it in to have multiple ways to do it. So, for example, if there was a target number that I could reach in just 3 numerations, I wanted a lot of ways to do it in 3. It turned out that most of the numbers that you could reach in 3, there was like one best way to do it in 3. So, coming here to this number, the reason I concluded 31 as the best, or that if you don't include plus 3, that 19 is another very good one, related to that the minimum amount of steps to reach them had many different ways to do it. Somebody's saying base 120 is even better. I feel like we may have chatted about this on a stream before, but I will note that while 120 is one of the coolest numbers of all time, and there may even be whole episodes I make dedicated to the number 120, the next commenter is right that it's too many symbols. We don't want 120 symbols. So while 120 is a brilliant number, it would be a lot of symbols to use for a base, because to be in base 120 you would need after 0 through 9, you would need approximately 110 more symbols. Somebody said, can I go back to the clone rules, or are they not decided yet? Now, clone essentially copies the last numberation. So, for example, this could be substituted with a clone and could get me there. This could be substituted with a clone and get me there. Clones could distract the opponent from reaching something. If you cloned a reverse, it would put it back how it was, because reverse is its own inverse. So clone, basically you play on top of another numberation, it copies it. It adds strategy to the game as a fun card, but it's not necessary in our mathematics here, because any of these that could be called clone would be the same amount of steps as the thing they were cloning. So somebody said I should invent a game like Scrabble, but instead of number tiles, use letter tiles. But other way around, but use number tiles instead of letter tiles. That is a good idea, and I've considered that as well, of designing games that these are separate, where, for example, you have things like plus, times, minus, divided by, and then you have things like 1, 2, 3, and 5 and such, and that you have to combine these separately. So that is a game I've considered as well, where we're not using numerations, we're using operations and numbers as separate cards. The problem with that was that it created too much variation in the random opening hands you draw as to whether you're able to do anything effective right away or not. With this combination of numerations, I found that you were able to usually do something or another on your first turn if you start with 3 cards, whether it's helping you get closer to the best thing or your opponent get further from it. Somebody asked, will it always be 1 in 31? And there will be many variations. So 31, I do like the idea of it resetting at a number so that part of the strategy is that if you sweep all the cards and then you don't have enough cards left to do much left in your turn, that you don't want your opponent to also sweep the next batch. And so I do like the idea of it being, it's almost more chess-like compared to poker-like if you know more about the state of the game. For example, having open hands and, for example, knowing what the reset is. However, I did really also like the idea that the reset number would change sometimes. And, for example, perhaps after 31, the next time it's 32, then 33, then 34. Perhaps you have some sort of dice that you tick upward, and perhaps even for one of the variations that I was thinking of, one of the players, either the one who scooped the cards or the one who didn't, gets to decide whether the next target number goes up or down 1. Now the problem is that some target numbers are too easy to reach, so that I almost, if I design a game like this, would want to include a die that only includes multi-digit prime numbers. And in fact, even prime number is 17 and larger, or maybe even 19 and larger. So there is a lot of good target numbers I've found, but if we were to have variation in them, not every number works as well. If 25 was our target number, then you'd just be really lucky if you had a times 5 and either another times 5 or a squared. And you would get there in 2 steps. And so we want less luck and more strategy. And so I'm thinking that it's good to know what the next number is going to be, as opposed to it being as much of a dice roll, but that it could be fun for them to tick upward or downward. Perhaps it ticks up or down to the next prime. Like perhaps after 31, the next goal number is 29, then 23, then 19, and etc., or picking upward. There are many variations of this game you could agree upon with your opponents, and in fact, there are many other numberation cards I've invented that this is the almost, out of, on a simplicity scale of 1 to 10, this is the 2 out of 10 simplicity level of a game, of all the ideas I've conjured for it. However, 2 out of 10 is what I think we want, because uh, it's already going to be really mathematical, and I think for it's the way the cards are going to look is almost going to be like a game like Uno or Set, or games like that just have a simple faced card that says something like 2n or n squared or something, and they may have nicknames as well, like double or square. But with that, I may include some strange dice that you tick upward or downward to different target numbers that I've figured out are good target numbers. And to clarify again, a good target number means less luck, more strategy, and more variation, in that for the minimal amount that it would take to reach the target number, there are several ways to do it, and not a single thing you're hoping to draw. Somebody asked if I can do an example game. Next time I'll do that. Yeah, I've. Let me see if I have. Where did I put the card? Okay, I don't have them here, but I literally designed cards for it. I made a deck of sample cards of them, and I will. Shoot, do I have that around here? That'd be really cool to show. Okay, I'm not going to waste a bunch of time looking for that, but I did design a batch of numeration sample cards. I'm going to have to edit them because I don't know if I put the right number of each of these in them. That's like a whole calculation I have to do, is whether we get the same amount of each of these, or whether we want like more times 2s than times 5s, whether digit reversal gets twice as many because its own reverse, compared to something like to the power of 2 has square root as a reverse. So I have to consider how many of these make sense to put in the deck. Somebody said, does +2r +1 work, or did you say you can't do it in that direction? Now, the reason that doesn't work is because, and it could work depending on the rules I'd made for digit reversal, but my rules for digit reversal that I said kind of quickly earlier include you cannot have 0 digits in it. So you must digit reverse a number that is non-zero digits. And so you cannot turn 3 to 30 or 30 to 3, for example. You could turn 12 to 21 or 21 to 20. I'm 12 to 21 or 21 to 12. Now, somebody said some scientists studied which music cats like the most, and that they hate AC/DC. That's pretty funny. Cats don't like that highway to hell, I guess. But in any case, I have been conducting my own study of, when I mentioned cat TV that my cats watch, of which animals my cat Dandelion is most fascinated by. So far, my studies have found that he loves mice. Mice are like 10 out of 10 cool. Chipmunks and squirrels are pretty cool. Those are like 8 or 9 out of 10 cool. And then some other animals he's a little more bored by. But so I'm conducting some tests on which animals of cat TV are, because it changed my whole worldview of cats. I used to think that cats did not pay attention to TV in any way, that it was just like they didn't notice TV was on, they thought it was this flat, boring window humans paid attention to. But it turns out that cats just think that TV's boring. It turns out if you have a show that has a mouse popping out of a hole, the cat's like, okay, yeah, finally, a good TV show's on. So I'm studying which TV shows Dandelion, my cat, likes the most. And so far, it is cat TV mice, closely followed by cat TV chipmunks and squirrels. And yeah, so we had some similar comments about whether you're allowed to reverse ones with zeros. Reversing with zeros just makes it too easy as the problem, because on your very first step, you can go from 1 to 10 if you're allowed to digit reverse ones with a zero in them. And that just makes like everything one step faster to be able to go from 1 to 10. Not everything, but a lot of these would just be one step faster if I was allowed to digit reverse it, and it would make it a little less interesting. It is open hands. There's variations I was considering where of the two cards you draw per turn, one is a secret one and one is face up. But I actually like the idea of you draw two cards at the end of your turn that are face up, and your opponent plays a chess like maneuver against what they know. They know everything that you have there. Now, somebody said a variation could be you have a deck of targets to draw from, and that is certainly another thing I've considered, as well as dice being the targets, that there could be a separate batch of cards that have a different back, so you know that they're not like shuffled in the main deck, that are target numbers. The thing is, I do really like the idea of, and for a variation, it would be a fun variation that you have a random target number each time. But for the main game, I like the idea of knowing what the next target number is going to be, whether it's the same one as before or you know exactly where it ticks, because then there's a little more strategy of sometimes you would not scoop all the cards because you're worried your opponent would instantly be able to get a larger scoop than you. Now, a lot of other cool things. And someone says, can we incorporate complex primes? If you mean complex numbers, yes, there will. Okay, I mentioned earlier that I've designed many future variations, and this one is the 2 out of 10 complexity version. Yes, there are versions where you get to make negative numbers. Yes, there are versions where you get to make fractions. Yes, there are versions where you get to make imaginary and complex numbers. So yes, there will someday be a variation of this that includes things like times 1 plus I. Yep. There will also, you could even, to begin even using these numerations, you can even just change the range you allow, is another variation. You could say instead of 1 to 99 being allowed, I'm going to say we are allowing any rational number between 1 and 200. You could change what are valid numbers that are numerations that are allowed to affect. None of these would cause a number to be complex, but with the inverses of these, you could theoretically allow negatives or fractional numbers. And in future variations, there will be complex numbers. Somebody said his square roots allowed in the game, and they mean whole numbers, square roots. And yes, each of these I've written down has an inverse, in that there is a card that's also -1, -2, and -3. There are cards that are divided by 2, divided by 3, and divided by 5. And the inverse of n to the power of 2 is square root of n. I mean, to be technical, we're probably going to write the cards like this, with n meaning what the current number of the pile you're on is. So we're probably going to, like, to be technical, write them like this. And this one's going to say n to the power of 2. And this one, it's going to be the square root symbol, because it's, I don't know if everyone even realizes, but the square root symbol, a lot of people say, no, but it could be the negative answer. Like if you square root 16, it could be -4. And yes, -4 is a non-primary square root of 16. However, the square root symbol signifies the primary root. So we are going to, on the card, it's going to look like square root symbol n. And you're going to have to know that in real mathematics, that does signify the positive answer, because that's called the primary square root in this case. So it's going to be the square root symbol, but I don't have that on my computer, so I'm writing it like that. That is the inverse of that, just like these have inverses of divided bys, and these have inverses of minuses. digit reversal is weird because it's its own inverse. It is, it's the only one. And clone is, it could be an inverse of any of them. I'm not even positive I'll put clone in the starting deck, but I wasn't sure about putting digit reverse at first, and then I realized it gave us so many cool options. So digit reverse is certainly going to be making it in the starter deck. Now, somebody said they just arrived. What's going on? We're wrapping up the stream right now. However, I do save my streams, so to anybody who wants to watch them after the fact, they are available. You can go on the stream, or what's called the live tab on the channel here. This is, reminder, my bonus channel in a way, in that I don't put my full projects here. Those go on my combo class channel. But on this channel, I mostly have been doing shorts and live streams, and this grade's had a bunch of live streams. So if anyone ever needs, like, not even joking, hundreds of hours of me ranting about random combo class stuff, click on the live tab. If you ever need random stuff, I would say to fall asleep too, but maybe I'm a little too chaotic for that mood. Somebody asked if I've considered modulus cards, and yes, those are certainly. So there's so many things I want to put in numberation cards, like go to the triangular number of that number, or things like somebody mentioned digit sum in the comments, things like that. Digit sum I was considering, things that are even like digit product plus digit sum, or digit product minus digit sum. I was considering ones where you just replace a single digit with a particular thing, where it's like replace whichever digit is lower with a 9 or something. There's so many various numerations that could be fun to include, and modulus ones like that would be very interesting. In a future variation, I would love to have one that's like, you can only play, this isn't even modulus exactly, but like full on different bases. Like you can only play this on a 2-digit number that contains the digits 0 through 5, and you turn it into whichever number that would represent in base 6, and then put it back to base 10. So like if you were at the number 23, then in base 6 that would represent 15, so you'd go to the number 15. And modulus ones I've certainly considered as well. Similarly are ones that are like round to the nearest x, like round to the nearest 5 or something, but also ones that send you to a particular mod of, go to the nearest or the like either the one that's higher, the one that's lower, or if it's an odd number, you could say to the nearest. Going to a particular mod, go to the nearest thing that's one higher than a multiple of 6 or something. Now, multiples of 6 will be important because there's a lot of 2s and 3s in this game. Well, I don't know why that said 2n. That should say 3n. There's a lot of 2s and 3s in this game. And so this game, I almost was going to make all about 3-evens, evens, and not include the times 5s. But it turns out the times 5s, I think, will not only be fun for the game, but make it a little more digestible. Because some people who are like not mathematicians who try and play this game are actually going to have more fun with the times 2s and times 5s, because they know like easy math of that turns to a 0 at the end, compared to the times 3s that they're going to have to be like, oh man, I got to do 18 times 3 in my head, or something like that. So, like I said, this game, we're at like 2 out of 10 complexity for the starter set, compared for my math audience. For a non-mathematician who does not normally like math, I would say this is 6 out of 10 complex. But for my math audience, it's going to be on the lower end because it's a game. I'm not, we'll learn a lot about number theory through studying this, but This is the starter version of a game that's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to even be something that if you like math and you have a friend or family member who doesn't, that you can maybe even get them into math by playing this game with them. Maybe you can play this game with them a few times, and at some point they'll be like, hey, I kind of like three even numbers. In any case, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream here. It is literally past midnight here. I love chatting with all of my folks. And like I said, to anyone who missed the earlier part, this will be saved as a video like all my other ones. And people have a lot of other cool ideas. Somebody said, do I purely want it to be a physical game or digital? I actually have a friend who has been helping me design some digital game-like things. So it'll probably be digital as well. I personally like physical cards just because, like I said earlier, I have old-fashioned hobbies. And as a reminder, I do not mean old-fashioned beliefs like the old-fashioned days where people were really racist and misogynist and stuff. I mean, I like old-fashioned things like paper books and card games. And I personally will prefer to play it with paper cards, but there will be a digital version because a digital version would make it a lot easier to have numerations that do things like this. Reverse the order of two things in the stack, because you can look at a stack to know exactly what number you're at. You're like, okay, I want +1 times 3 times 5 times 7. I want none of them to be ambiguous where you have to like remember, oh, at this point I played this and I chose this or something. I want you to be able to look at a stack if for some reason you forgot and know exactly what number you're at. Now, you could have numberation cards that switch to in the stack, and that would cause really weird things to change because it's really different if you go from a given number like times 5 plus 2 or plus 2 times 5. There could also be ones that take a numberation from one pile and put it on the other pile. And things like that I really wanted to include, but I thought they could be annoying to keep track of in a non-digital way. So those are the type of effects that would happen in a digital form of the game. And yes, I would like to make both. Even though I'm old-fashioned, I understand that not only do a lot of people like digital things like computer games, but that certain aspects of this would be easier to track if you just had the number of the pile right there telling you for sure what number the pile was at. Somebody said you could use dice to keep track of them, and you can. Unfortunately, this sounds so nitpicky, but I'm going to be really angry that I may have to include 10-sided dice because they are not a platonic solid. The perfect dice shapes are the ones with side amounts 4, 6, 8, 12, and 20. Those are the platonic solids, and they are amazing shapes, and the 10-sided die is not as cool as them. So I'm going to be really disappointed when I have to probably put some 10-sided dice into my board game. But we'll do it to make it easier to track. But in fact, we may not need 10-sided dice because in the starter game, I'm probably not going to have ones that like switch orders of cards or things that crazy. So hopefully the players can just like know at a given time. Okay, this one's 3, this one's 17. Okay, I just turned it to 16, and that one was 3. You know, it would be easier to keep track with a thing like dice, but I also like the idea of, do you know like cribbage boards, or like there's these old boards of certain types of games I never really played, but for some reason I had one of like these boards to keep track of things. It's like you have all these like wooden holes, and you have little pins like things that you put in the hole, and you can hop around. I like the idea of that as well, where you have like a 10 by 10 grid of holes that represents the numbers, and you have 2 colors of peg, and those are on whatever number you're on at the moment, because the numerations are only supposed to be whole numbers from 1 to 99 in our starter version. So you could theoretically just have 2 little things that whenever you play a numberation, you move it to a new spot, and if you ever were to have it hit the other one, that's when you win. I mean, you sweep all the current cards and then either continue playing with the deck, or if you want memorization to be less important, you tally the points and shuffle. You wouldn't shuffle your hand. You'd keep your hand, but you'd shuffle the swept cards. Now, yep, there are many other options for how we could keep track of these points. Thank you for all the comments. I gotta end this stream. It is 12:12. 12:12 sounds like a good time to end it right now, because you know we like the number 12. Good old dozen, one of those only numbers that deserved and got a nickname. Not that many numbers, even 10, the base that our base is based around. I can't think of as common of a nickname for 10 as dozen is a nickname for 12. There are historical reasons for that, because 12s made more sense to ship things in, count things in, and do most things in than 10s. We happen to have 10 fingers. That doesn't mean 10 deserved a nickname like dozen. So that's the thing to think about. And I think 6 needs a nickname as well. We can call it, for now, the smallest threeven even. Thank you all for joining me in today's stream. Remember, if some of this did not make sense, roll back, because I do save these streams and we were discussing a variety of fun things. There are also a bajillion old streams to watch, a few new shorts, and the newest combo class episode about clocks will be out sometime between Sunday and Tuesday. Thank you all for joining me.